Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
I was going to have you all introduce yourself, but you basically did. Okay, I'm just going to fan myself because I get super hot. It's summertime, like everybody. Anyways, welcome. Hi. Thank you for coming. My name is Yettel. Was I supposed to introduce myself?
I was going to, but you got it.
Because I didn't know that if that was like supposed to go in the flyer or whatever. Here, I'll
fly your title and then introduce yourself.
I'll read it to you because I thought a lot about it. And it's always hard to like explain who you are because you'll kind of get to know who I am after I tell you who I am. But I decided to describe myself as a multifaceted art teacher, jewelry maker, Mikvah balani, which means that I run the Mikvah, interior designer, poet, artist, and I live on Shlichus in East Flatbush. And you'll hear a little bit. Don't you laugh? It's not. I did not write that one lightly. I'm serious. I put that there for a reason. I just want to say for those of you who are watching, we have art supplies on the table. We have watercolor paints and we have pastels. So watercolor paints, you could take your little spritz bottle, take your watercolor palette, give it a little spritz, and like I say, it wakes up the colors. If you add more water, you get thinner colors. If you really tap and swirl, as I say to my students, tap and swirl on the paint color, and you'll get a more vibrant and intense color. Pastels are really fun also. They're vibrant in a different way. You can make them, you can go all out and smear them if you want to. It'll be more pastels, like soft colors. But if you just apply these like crayons, they're very bright. My apologies that I did bring my pastels from school, and the students are not always so thoughtful about how they leave the pastels. So just take, you could just take, right, well, if you want this color red, then you don't want blue on it. So just take the end and just kind of wipe it off, and then you'll get a beautiful, perfect color. I brought this as a example of something that I did when we had like a Fabregan and we were just given art supplies and we just did whatever we felt. I painted it this way. I display it in my house this way. And the reason is because, I don't know, maybe you see something in here? What? Okay. Exactly. And I see Moshe Rabbeinu with his staff in front of the water. But I promise you, I did not paint it as anything specific. I just kept on going up and down and swirly and blah, you know. So you could, don't pay so much attention to what you're doing, and you may be surprised at how it comes out. And you can absolutely paint, use some pastels, paint on top of them, and then the pastels resist. You can't actually paint on top of pastels, so you can mix and match. Have fun. You can make whatever you want. We have large paper, smaller paper, and just enjoy. Sometimes personally, I like to listen while I do something with my hands. So that was also my feeling. If you want to, take up pasuk or something, I have this truck of a that I did at a different time. That's only with pastels. This one's you could think of something or not think of something. It's really up to you. But I feel like it's good to express ourselves. That's for water. It's meant to be it's like a pen with water, and you can add it. Yeah, it's a water brush, exactly. Hi, what's your name?
Madeline.
Nice to meet you. I'm Yettel. Thanks for coming. Perfect.
Oh my gosh, I know you.
Welcome.
Thank you to the Shabbat house. I had so many people there.
And thank you to Michal for doing this all the time. I would have loved this when I was your age. Yeah, anyways. Okay, so I'm not going to start at the very beginning but I will start at a beginning because every day is in a beginning.
You're gonna start at the beginning?
No, I said I'm not starting at the very beginning. I'm starting at a beginning. Every day is a beginning, and the topic that we decided to discuss is miracles and seeing Hashem in our lives and seeing His miracles in our lives in a daily basis. Something that I went to Mikvah Alta. So I grew up from birth, but I consider myself Bal Tshuva because I kind of am. I grew up not Lubavitch, and I chose that path pretty early on, but I didn't really know what it was. So anyways, I pursued that path, and that's what got me here. Okay, so we'll start like this. So when I went to Mikvah Alta, one of my seminary teachers told us advice that I tell practically everybody, which is keep a Hashgacha Pratis journal. Hashgacha Pratis is Hashem's presence in our lives in a very detailed day-to-day basis. And sometimes it happens and we don't realize it, but if we have a journal and we're expecting to look for it, then we realize I fill up my journal all the time. So ever since then, I've started a journal, and it can be, I find small things, large things. The simplest example that I give is one time I needed to go to Apple Drugs to deliver, I don't know why I need to go there. I needed to go there to deliver something to them in person. And it turns out I walked down the street less than half a block away from my house, and I met the Apple Drugs delivery guy, and I said, "Can I give this to you instead of having to walk half Crown Heights?" And he said, "Sure." And I was like, "Yeah, that was Hashem. Thank you, Hashem. I appreciate that." And it went in my journal. That's a simple thing. There's a lot more big things, but it's there. It's there if you look for it. Hashem is guiding you along little by little, big things, small things. Write it down. Make a Google Doc, write it down, just write in the date, and you'll be surprised. Also, it ended up being a little bit of a kind of like a life journey for me, of like a journal of my whole life, because I saw I saw this Hashgacha Pratis at this point in my life, and I saw Hashgacha Pratis in that point in my life. Oh, that's where I was when this happened. This was, etc. Okay, so that's my disclaimer. Disclaimer is Hashem is everywhere if you look for Him. Okay. Now, like I said, I'm a multifaceted person, so stuff happens in our lives. I was very happy to start my life with my husband, and we were very, very blessed that I was able to get pregnant pretty quickly. And I do have a son who's 16, believe it or not. I'm now 25. But, and this is a shaitel. Sorry, I forgot to do that. This is a shaitel. Then I didn't know that this happened, but now Baruch Hashem, people are talking about it a lot more, that sometimes people go through what's called postpartum depression. And that's just like your hormones normally are supposed to reorganize themselves after a baby. And that is normal to have, hormonal shifts after a baby. But what isn't as normal as prolonged hormonal shifts and depression, sadness, or not feeling like you want to get out of the bed, etc. So that happened to me, and it did not let up. And it turned out it turned into a little bit more than postpartum depression. For me, I have I guess it's a genetic thing that I'm predisposed to mood stuff, but it decided to present then. And Baruch Hashem, through very, very fast action of my husband and information from a lot of people, Baruch Hashem, I'm fine now. But we did have a lot of upheaval and a lot of change. Yeah, Baruch Hashem, exactly. Good. Oh, you work at B&H?
Yes, that's the
Good.
There we go. It's like required.
Excellent.
So there you
Yes.
go. You work at B&H, Hashem's included. There you go.
There you go. You see Hashem every single day. Baruch Hashem. So anyway, so I spent many years not able to continue to build a family until I got stable. And once I did get stable, then we encountered what they call secondary infertility, which is just that they don't know why, but you can get pregnant. So it was very challenging, to say the least. And we had it was a long process, but first you have to realize, oh, this is happening. Oh, so it's not happening. Meaning, we'd like to go to a certain place and maybe try to have another child, but we're doing everything you're supposed to, and nothing's happening. So maybe there is an issue. So first we had to recognize, oh, this is an issue. Then we had to go through a bunch of tests. Everybody has to go through tests. We both had to go through tests. Rule this out, rule that out, rule the other thing out. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Is this healthy in your body? Is this working in your body? Is there something blocking your fallopian tubes? Well, this has to do that, so we did that. Nope, not that. Everything's working fine. In the meanwhile, we, Baruch Hashem, found our house. As we were going through stuff, and we moved to East Flatbush, which is down Albany, not down Montgomery, like where Yehudis lives. That's called Remsen Village. Please don't mix them up. They're actually quite far away from each other.
If you don't know.
Basically, yeah. So if you want to get to my house, East Flatbush is down Albany. You walk down Albany, and we're parallel to Montgomery, Eastern Parkway. Like, our streets are parallel that way. As opposed to Remsen is more, if you walk straight down Montgomery, it turns into that direction. They basically they form a triangle away from each other. But the 50s are in between. These 50s are in between. But these 50s are technically called Remsen Village. So, okay. Anyway, that was incredible for me because, like I said, I'm an artist, and I discovered in myself that I'm also an interior designer. We ended up having to gut our whole house. We thought it was just going to be a small job just to replace all of the electricity in the house, which was fabric-coated wires from 1915. It was not. It was a whole gut job, and I loved it. I loved making decisions. I loved seeing these old things that were part of the house that were like, why would you put newspapers inside the wall in the bathroom? And why would you buy tiles that all look the same that you could just pluck off the walls because it wasn't taken care of properly? Anyways, it was so much fun for me, and I really enjoyed myself. Baruch Hashem, we had help from family to help us afford it all. Whatever we benefit that too, that's fine. That's what it's there for. But we finished the house, we moved in, and COVID hit. And little did I know, though, that my next door neighbor, who is Jewish, we have three of us on the block. My next door neighbor, for years before they were looking for their house, they kept writing to the Rebbe, please, Rebbe, we need a house. You have to get out of, our cramped apartment, whatever their situation was. And they kept writing to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe they got these letters that were incredibly clear that basically said, when you buy your house, you will build a mikvah on the premises. Wow. So they knew that they were going to do that. They didn't know when, obviously. But once we moved in and you know, they had fundraised and they started building. And one day, and our houses are unique. I don't think anybody in our neighborhood, for sure from when we bought, but even till this day, we have 7 detached houses. And that means that we share a driveway. And that means that the driveway opens up into like basically 2 backyards that are open to each other. We have essentially a shared backyard. The kids riding around their bikes on both properties. And so I just walked into my backyard one day and I heard all this noise and I saw that they had 2 garages in the backyard and they were digging. So I just said, Dick, what's going on? What is this? What's happening? And he told me, we have instructions from the Rebbe that we need to build a mikvah, and we're building a mikvah. So I said, well, who's going to design it? Like, who's going to be the interior designer? And they're like, oh yeah, we'll hire somebody. And at that point, I think it was during COVID probably. And I was like, well, I don't have all that much going on right now. I'm only teaching twice a week. Like, I'd love to do it. This was going to be super fun. And so I took it on and I started doing it. I woke up every morning and talked to the contractor, and I went to the stores, and we had a little 5-person committee, a design committee, where we discussed things, and I posted all the things, chandeliers and tiles and designs and everything, and we put it together, mostly me, and it was really fun. I mean, like, when you're doing something you love, it's really fun.
Did you hang up everything or design it, or you had someone
No, I was the designer. I asked a friend who was the designer.
Did you put up install everything?
So we had the contractor. The contractor is the guy who knows the electrician. He sends in the electrician. He knows the guy who does the walls, and he sends in the guy who does the walls. And he knows the guy who tiles, and he sends that guy in. So I was there saying, this tile goes here, and that one goes there, and this sink we're going to be putting here, so don't put anything there. This is going to be our future sink. The other sink is going to go there. It was super fun for me. It really was. Little did I know that this was actually a segula for having children. I honestly did not know. I was just doing what I loved, and doing it for a mitzvah. I should probably backtrack to say that even though we do live close to Crown Heights, for a Friday night, first of all, the walk from our neighborhood to the Mikvahs in Crown Heights is at least a 25-minute walk if you walk fast, and East Flatbush. And usually people want to walk with, like, up until now, people had been walking with a buddy. So the woman who had to go to the mikvah went, and the buddy went, and they both left their houses, and they both, Baruch Hashem, have families who were like, well, where's mommy going? Why are you going so late? And which friend are you visiting? And whatever it was. And it's a walk there. And then sometimes you have to wait for your turn, and then you have to walk back. And it really could get long. Right. So that's why we had the buddy system. But it was obvious, and the Rebbe foresaw this, that it was really important for our neighborhood to have something for Shabbos and Yontif. So that is when we're open. We're only open Shabbos and Yontif. Baruch Hashem, you have 3 mikvahs in Crown Heights, which are huge and have lots of people, and you could take an Uber to go there, and it's not such a big deal. On the weekday, anybody could say they're going out to Shir. But this mikvah that we made is only open for Shabbos and Yontif, and that serves that need in our community. So I did end up, I guess the Rebbe foresaw this too, that I'm the one who does the laundry. I'm the one who makes sure that the light bulbs are still working. I turn on the little sound machines that we have in each room, Erev Shabbos. I guess it is useful to have somebody that's on premises who's going to run out 5 minutes before Shabbos and turn on, all these things. So I guess that was also part of the Rebbe's plan. So in between all these things, we're trying to do fertility treatments. We're going to doctors, like I said, rule this out, rule the other thing out. And we're kind of like inching closer to the inevitable, which is IVF. I will say none of these treatments are particularly fun. They're not particularly. They didn't particularly suit my schedule. I'm not a very big morning person. I had to get up every morning, not every morning, but too many mornings in my book, to go have them draw blood, which I have a whole history of not liking people drawing my blood. When I was a kid, they had to hold me down. Don't ask. It's okay. I got over it, but it's still not pleasant. And you know what? Do you have a pen? Let me see if I have a pen for something. Hold on a second. 1 second. Nope. Yes. No, I took my pen out. Okay. I do. I have a pen. Okay. Okay. So when we were doing all these things, obviously I'm not going to just sit down and put my hands up and say, hey, look, Hashem, I'm doing all the doctor stuff without kind of, you know, doing the ruchnistic stuff also. So can I give you suggestions? Because I'm also an art teacher. Can I give you suggestions for art? I'm saying for if I can help out, I'll just ask.
Yeah, no, she said we got a water brush. Which one?
Yeah, so well, if you just take one of the regular brushes and dip it in water, it works also nicely.
Yeah,
but you could do it that way, but you need the paint too. So, so like, also these the little lids are actually meant for palettes. Meaning, if you want to mix two of the colors that you see in front of you, you could take one of the circles and mix the colors and like make your own fun stuff.
Oh, you mean like?
Yeah, because we don't want to mix them in the palette over here, but if you mix them in the little, yeah, the lids. I found out they're really useful for mixing colors. So, yeah. You could also try if you want, you can also try to mix pastels and the paint. The pastels are good to start off with, and then if you want to paint on top of pastels, it looks really pretty also. So that's my suggestion. At some point, you know, like I said, Hashem is everywhere. Hashem is with us. Hashem is the one running the show. And so doing only the physical treatments on all that stuff was half of the puzzle. But there were a lot of things that I implemented over a small amount of time to kind of make a bigger keli, if you will. So someone actually suggested to me that with a shlucha in Bell Harbor, Florida, Hannah Lipsker, her and her husband also were having trouble having children. And at one point they went to the Rebbe and they asked for Kaishal Bracha. And as far as I know, the Rebbe kind of hinted that she should distribute it to other people, which she did. And so somebody told me, like, hey, have you heard that there's this Bracha Rebbe wine that your husband is supposed to use for Kiddush? Like, did you get some? Do you want some? And so I called her up and she gave me the instructions. It's, in addition to just making Kiddush from it, she said, like, focus on the ruchnistic, focus on the emunah, focus on the bitachon, believe that Hashem is going to give you brachas, and make as big of a keli as you possibly can. So if you're giving 1 penny for tzedakah every single day, increase it. So I did. And if you're, let's say, just saying Tehillim every day, maybe add Tanya also. And if you're saying Tehillim and Tanya, maybe add in a little bit of Chumash. And so I did increase slowly until I was driving with more kavanah, giving tzedakah more, talking to Hashem and telling him, hey, like, I want to be a partner with you. and increase our family and like, I'm trying to make a keli. Do you want to give me the brachas? Like, I know you want to, so I'm making this big keli so that you can bring these brachas. So as we went on, we got closer and closer to the IVF, which I really did not want to go there. I was quite scared of it for obvious reasons. I really didn't want it to be an intrusive situation, but there was just only one procedure that had to be done. That was like the last step before the IVF, and that's called an IUI. And my IUI was scheduled for Yettel Zylbernagel. So my first thought was, I mean, in general, I was having a really hard time just understanding that, like, my child is supposed to start off in, like, private with just me and my husband. Now it's like all these people staring over this little petri dish and this doctor. Like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? Why is this part of my story? I don't know why, but this definitely was the way that it had to happen. And I said to myself, well, normally I would say, oh, you know, go to Fabrenyan, Yetzel Kislev, go sit in 770, sing the Alter Rebbe's Niggin, I don't know. But I said no, because I said, you have to do this procedure and we're not rescheduling it. It worked out with my cycle that was when it had to happen. And I said to myself, if that's when Hashem wanted it to happen, that's when, I don't know, maybe we needed help from the Alter Rebbe. But I came in for the procedure with as much of an open mind and open heart that I could, and I played the Alter Rebbe's Niggin as they were doing the procedure, and I just tried to focus on the great gift that we have, which is Chassidus, that we're able to see that there is another side to this world, that there is not just the Gashmias as we see it, but that what's fueling the Gashmias is Hashem. My first name is actually Esther, so I tend to, I guess I have an affinity to Megillas Esther, and we know that in Megillas Esther, Hashem's name is never mentioned. And we can see, obviously, you know, we can understand in a situation like what we're seeing today, where, you know, Esther she wasn't there of her own accord. Mordechai was, you know, a government official. We could have used that connection of the government to put pressure on Achashverosh, and maybe that would have lessened up the pressure from Haman. It could have happened in a very political and thought out way, but instead Esther went in, she fasted before she went into Achashverosh. She did not look beautiful. She probably was very weak. She was probably shaky and her throat was scratchy, and that's how she went in to talk to Achashverosh, and that's how the miracle came about. It came about by her recognizing, Hashem put me in this position. Hashem made this whole situation to hear what I'm going to do and what I'm going to say, and to see how I'm going to act. So I kind of thought about that also as I'm having my little procedure. And lo and behold, on Hey Teves, we got the positive pregnancy test, which was absolutely incredible. And I did look back on my little notes of when I started Mrs. Lipsker's, well, when my husband started making Kiddush with Mrs. Lipsker's wine, and it actually was 9 months till I got my positive pregnancy test that we started that. So that was big. You know, I at first I didn't want to believe it. It took a couple of days to have it sink in. But Baruch Hashem, everything was okay. We had a lot of hurdles, though. We had a lot of hurdles, namely that this medicine. Oh, I should have said it before. Medicine that my mother was on it and I'm on it, and really, my mother really was told that she should not go off of her medication to try to have children. She got married. She got married when she was 36, and she was going to have a child no matter what. So I'll tell this part, and we'll plug it back in at the end. Thank you. That basically my parents, like I said, I grew up from, but my parents didn't. My parents came to Yiddishkeit not through Chabad, through like a local Rav, and my mother always says she remembers listening to all these stories of the Tanaim and Amoraim, and she thought it was so cool that, like, you know, women can learn too, and to hear all these stories of these tzaddikim, and it makes Torah feel really alive. But they still had this doctor who said, it's not happening, don't even think about it, it won't happen, I don't allow you. And somehow, at some point, they met a Lubavitcher, and the Lubavitcher invited them to Crown Heights, and they sat by a Farbrengen of the Rebbe in 1986 or so, 1985, 1986, and it was on Shabbos. So I don't know, my mother claims that the Rebbe maybe looked at my father or something, I don't know. And that was it. And the next day, you know, my mother really wanted to go to Dollars. She heard the Rebbe's giving out dollars, but my father didn't want to stay and stand in line for 6 hours, so they didn't go. Yeah, you know, since I became a Lubavitcher, I'm like, well, what? You couldn't just go. Like, why couldn't you just go? Come on, like, you should have known that this is, you know. I try not to dwell on it too much, but you know, every so often I wonder why. But anyways, her doctor very soon after moving to California, she got a new doctor, and the new doctor said, sure, you know, it's going to be tricky, but I'm happy to walk you through it. You can go off your medication for just the 9 months, and then you go right back on it, and I'll help you through it. We'll do it. And yes, I think that the Rebbe did have some sort of effect on this. Of course, we'll never know. But this is the story that they tell me. So, Baruch Hashem, my pregnancy was challenging at the beginning because I needed to manage this medication and make sure that I was stable, and I was still taking care of my other son, and you know, well enough to go to work. And my biggest fear was that something would, you know, not be right with the baby, but fortunately it was. I cannot express how big of a relief there was at that first ultrasound. That I just said, does he have 10 fingers and he has 10 toes, and his heart is the baby's heart is formed properly? And the ultrasound lady was like, yeah, it's all good. I'm like, again, can you just tell me that again? You know, just tell me again. And everything was healthy, Baruch Hashem, which is a huge bracha and kind of a big fear for me. So anyways, fast forward, time to have the baby, and my doula is sitting in my house. I come into the room, and she just randomly had opened up the English letters of the Rebbe, and she just hands me the book, and she goes, oh, this is for you. And I said, okay, like, I'm in the middle of labor. Like, what's going on? And I opened up to the letter that she had opened to, which said, I received your letter of the 3rd of Adar, as well as the previous one, wherein you write about the bris of your son and the name given to him of Yosef Yitzchak. I will reiterate my blessing to you and your wife to bring up your son in the life of Torah, Chuppah, and Ma'asim Tovim, in good health and prosperity. So the Rebbe basically named our baby. My husband, I did not tell my husband about this. I read the letter I was like, okay, I can't deal with this now. Put down. I gotta just like focus on this, having this baby. And of course, my husband's like, well, what are we naming him? I'm like, but the Rebbe already named him. His name is East Flatbush. So
Did you feel like you were having a boy?
okay. Oh, so it's funny. I didn't find out for a very, very, very long time. And then honestly, I was just talking to my therapist, and she's like, well, it sounds to me like you have everything planned out, but did you like plan if there's a bris, like what you're gonna do? Because he was due in right after Tisha B'Av, but so that was, we were dealing with like the end of summer, the beginning of camp, the beginning of school, like it was that in between time. And I had everything in my head. It's going to be a girl. I'm going to go buy, little frilly dresses and whatnot. And my therapist, Baruch Hashem, had the foresight to just say like, well, like, just, it's a 50-50 chance. You should give it a chance. Yeah. So I did actually ask I called them a doctor. I said, okay, I'd like to know. And I just had that information for myself. It really was helpful for me to know. I am a person that like, I'm a very emotional person. I'm very artsy. But I'm not a very, I don't like planning last minute. I like to kind of just know certain things. Anyways, it was good for me because then I started calling the baby Shneur Zalman because he was conceived on Yosef Kislev. So in my head, I'm like, this baby's name is Shneur Zalman, and his name is Shneur, and I was calling him Shneur Zalman, and then I was like, no, actually, wrong Rebbe. It's this Rebbe, not the other Rebbe that you want to name him for. And it was interesting because my husband had, our first son is named Avramel, and he's named for Avram the Malach, who was, he taught the Alter Rebbe Nigla, actually. And the Alter Rebbe taught him, the Alter Rebbe taught him Nigla and Halacha, and the Rebbe Avram the Malach taught him Chassidus and Nistar. So, but we both have great grandfathers who were named Avram, and I wanted it to be a family name. But the second, for this baby, my husband was like, well, I'd like to name it for one of the Rebbeim, but I didn't really connect with anything. Anyways, there's my story of a Mensch Tracht in Katlach, because clearly the Rebbe he knew what this kid was, and he's very much a Yosef Yitzchak. I told Michal, just as my coming here, he decided to take his scooter. He's 3.5 now. So he decided to take his scooter around the block just to view the neighborhood, right as I'm supposed to be leaving. Yay, he loves to play games. But he's a really joyous kid. He's a very laughing kid. He's a very shticky kid. He likes to pull shtick on people. And he's hilarious. He's really hilarious. Or Hashem. But the drama's not over. The drama's not over. Yosef Yitzchak was born while we're still building the mikvah. Almost done. We have like 3-4 months left. Then we opened in between Purim and Pesach, and I started getting into the role of things. Like I said, I go take the laundry. I make sure the robes are put nicely on the hanger. I make sure the lights are on. I make sure it gets cleaned every week. And I was just happy knowing that I can contribute in some way. When a lot of times when people, listen, every Jewish woman, we hope, will go to the mikvah at some point. When people are having children, a child, and then a couple of years later a child, and then a couple of years later a child, a lot of times they don't spend very much time in the mikvah. The women who spend a lot of time in the mikvah are the people who aren't having children so frequently. So I spent a lot of time going to mikvah every single month, month in and month out. And yes, sometimes it was challenging, and sometimes I was so relieved that I could just have some personal space. But I'm just happy to be there to help out the community, and obviously, if Hashem put us there in this house next to the mikvah, I'm meant to be there to help out. So that's what I'm doing. So yes, that's why I said I'm on shlichus in East Flatbush. It really is a shlichus, and the truth is, I found out a lot clearer exactly how much of a shlichus it is about a year after we had opened. And like I said, my next door neighbor is in charge of all the money. He fundraised the whole thing. I never had to ask him, you know, where should I cut corners? Baruch Hashem, I don't know where the money came from. I know that it came from a lot of smaller donors, some bigger donors, but at Baruch Hashem, we didn't have to worry about that. My neighbor is fantastic about that. But people are still sending him money to help with the upkeep, because the upkeep is actually a lot of what people don't think about. You know, you have to think of all the water bills, the heating bills, the electricity bills. You know, we do clean, you know, we pay for the cleaning lady every week. So there are upstanding bills. A lot of mikvahs actually work in a deficit. Even like the fancy one that's on Carroll, they're in a big, big deficit. But Baruch Hashem, people are still sending in donations. And one day, my next door neighbor just messaged me, hey, can you come to the side door? I have something for you. And she presented me with $1 from the Rebbe. To which I said, well, why are you giving this to me? And she said that somebody had donated it, and they wrote, it was anonymous, completely anonymously, but they wrote on the outside of the envelope, in case you need to make a raffle to raise money for the, you know, for the mikvah, you know, or something to that extent, like just use it for the mikvah. Use this $1 of the Rebbe for the mikvah. So she hands it to me. We're going to backtrack. When Yosef Yitzchok was born, like I said, he was born in the beginning of Elul, and I had a C-section, so I had, you know, major surgery. I wasn't able to move around at the extent that I wanted to, and I certainly wasn't able to bring him to the Ayhel until much later. So first I was healing, then we had Tishrei, and then finally we got to the Ayhel at Chav Cheshvan. So we, I did not grow up with this. I guarantee you all, I know you all, a lot of you all grew up in Lubavitch, maybe you grew up from, I didn't grow up with this stuff. I went to the women, the first year I went to the women's kinnis for the Chav B'Shvat convention. I came to the convention and somebody says to me, oh, all the girls come to the convention and all the boys come for Yud Shvat. I had no idea what Yud Shvat was. I was 11th grade, and I was proud Lubavitcher, the Lubavitcher in school. I made a tiny class, whatever, and I had no idea what Yud Shvat was. What? What's your background? My what? Your background. I grew up from, but not Lubavitch. I went to Beis Yaakov, and like from schools, my parents are Baalei Tshuva. But so, you know, when I first started hearing about this stuff, I was very excited about it. And I came home and told my father, you're not supposed to hold a cup, you know, for Kiddush that way. You have to hold it this way. And he's like, I can't tell your father what to do. Stop telling me what to do. I was very excited about it. It's special stuff. Sure. Baltimore. Yeah. Baltimore, Maryland. I did not say where. No, I did not say where I grew up. So thank you for asking. Thank you. Yes, I grew up in Baltimore. Not Brooklyn. I always said I'm never gonna. Oh, this is another thing that happens. Pepper in my story. I said I'm never moving to Crown Heights. I'm never living in Brooklyn. Never say it. Never say that word. Never say this word. Yeah. Absolutely not. This is the thing, you know, you see where Hashem is kind of like nudging you. Go this way, go that way. Wherever you are in life, He's just nudging you. This is the right place you need to be. That's not. Don't go there. Go here. So when like I said, Mindy, you're gonna make a Hashgacha Pratis journal. Yes. You're gonna make a Google Doc or something.
We take a quick selfie.
Sure. Okay, that's amazing.
She does mornings.
Everybody
We show our mornings that you
One,
I don't have anything like
two, three.
Beautiful.
Have fun seeing.
Take care. Thank you for coming.
Like she leaves to work at like 7. No.
Wow.
Yeah. She wakes up at like 5 and leaves at 6.
Wow, that's incredible. I like I said, I cannot.
What time do you wake up in the morning? What time do you leave to work?
That's amazing. Kol hakavod lach. Kol hakavod.
It's a camera, electronics, that's I believe
It's 24 hours, but everyone else has.
I would feel bad has a really early schedule, so she has to commute for 30.
I didn't
Right.
really choose, but I was asked to do it. I got bullied into it. Yeah.
No, Hashem nudged you in the right direction. You're meant to be there. You just have to find out why.
Sorry?
Volleyball.
Balls what?
Volleyball. When you're volunteering. Listen, it's all being everything.
I wasn't. That is an HR violation. So I can read it.
Sure. That's great.
My parents are not volunteers.
Okay.
Like, my father knows that I help her mental a lot as a part of these types of things.
Right.
He's not happiest about it.
Okay. You come from a Hasidic family?
No, listen.
Okay.
I don't mean to make this about me, but I'm saying your parents probably didn't really know any better. So,
Well,
of course they're going to accept whatever you tell them.
no. Well, yes and no. Like I said, first of all, what happened for I would love to bring about this also.
Sorry, I don't mean to make
I'm happy. I'll give you the condensed version. The condensed version is we like to travel a lot, and we met a Chabad family when I was like 2 or 3 years old in Montreal, and we used to go there all the time just because they were so nice, and they had twin girls my age. So we just hung out there for Thanksgiving and all these like American stuff, whatever. We just drove there, and we just talked to them and got to know them and celebrated this yantif with them and that yantif with them. And I was 7 years old, and the girl said, "You have to it's your birthday. Stand up and make a hachlata." But hachlata is, I'm gonna give up my blankie, And they're like, "No, not that kind of hachlata, like a ruchnis hachlata, whatever." It was a long process for me, but somehow I definitely had that like feeling of, you're welcome to ask questions. We're going to try to answer it with the best of our ability. And when I did ask questions, I was not scorned. I was not told, "Oh, you're just supposed to have emunah and bitachon," and like that. It's like, yes, there is a deeper reason why we're doing things. And there are like spiritual reasons that we do things, and it's important in our lives. And this was a long process for me. But like I said, once I turned 12, that was it. I was Chabad. I self-proclaimed I was Chabad. I went to Pern's bookstore, and I bought a Tehillah Hashem. And I was like, I daven a Sechari. Don't tell me I should daven someone else. I like to rustle feathers. No, because of this family. Because we saw how they daven. We went to their shul, and like when you hang on. So my father less so, because I was coming home and saying, "Tati, do that and don't do that," and he was like, "Well, that might be your path, but you can't tell me that this is my path." To this day, like, I wear kapata, but like sometimes, it doesn't do this, but he does that. Everybody's on their own journey. Everybody's on their own. We all have a different relationship with Hashem. But what I see is that the Rebbe is here for us, no matter where we are in our journey, right? The Rebbe talked to Zalman Shazar, who was the head, the Prime Minister of Israel. He also talked to, CNN journalists. He talked to Chabad people, and then he talked to people who later turned out to be Chabad because the Rebbe talked to them. The Rebbe is there for us. The Rebbe is like our Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu led all the Shvatim, no matter if you Shevet Dan or Shevet Reuven, and he told everybody, "This is the Torah that I got from Hashem. It's our Torah." All of us. So just like we are all having Moshe Rabbeinu as our Moshe Rabbeinu, we all have the ability to connect with the Rebbe. He's there as our as our friend, as our ear to listen. I can't tell you how many times I've been so distraught, and I just wrote to the Rebbe, and I just got these such nice letters, you know. And the Rebbe says like, I mean, you know, I understand this is harder for you, or this is gonna, you know, have this mindset. So many things of ways to connect to the Rebbe, and I just felt like you could never ask a question that's too simple or too silly for the Rebbe. He always cares, always, because it's you who's asking it, and he cares about you. And that to me is, I'm grateful for that. I'm just so grateful for that. So, as I was saying, we wanted to bring Yosef Yitzchak to the aisle as a thank you, as a thank you, basically. And, you know, like they said that it's a good idea for the first place that a woman who just had a baby to go to is a shul, to like bring the child into holiness. So we brought it to 770, but we wanted to bring him to the aisle. So we ended up, it was Chav Cheshvan. It was a little bit later than his birthday, but we went in, and, you know, I wrote my pon, and I said, thank you so much for this beautiful child, and I feel so grateful, and whatever I wrote. And then, as is my self-proclaimed custom, I walked in, I brought the baby to the video part. We sat down and we just watched the video. And this, I always do this because I speak English and the videos are translated into English. And I always do this. But that day, there was the video that was showing. The first video was a clip where the Rebbe was giving out dollars, and this man named Yitzchak came with his wife, and they came for dollars, and the Rebbe said to them, "Thank you so much for your involvement in the Mikvah, and Hashem should bench you with whatever it was, children or health, or I don't even remember what it was because I was so floored." I was really floored. But then, the story's not over, because the next clip that showed was when the Rebbe sang a sicha, and he was talking all about Yosef HaTzadik. The whole thing was Yosef HaTzadik. And so I sure. I don't know if it's a thing, but I guess it is. Why not? I wanted to bring him. Listen, oh. No, that's fine to bring him for any song any day, but yeah. Remind me again, what part of my story did you walk in? Because what was the first part of my story that you heard? You're talking about Mikvah? Okay, so I have a 16-year-old, and then I was not able to have, well, it wasn't healthy for me to have children for about 7 years. And then when we started trying, I had a secondary infertility. That was about 4 years or so. But each month feels like forever. And also, you know, I had this great idea in my head, like, oh, my son's 5. You know, when he turns 5, like, finish with like the government help, and then I'll have another baby. And his 5-year-old birthday passed. Nope, it wasn't good for me to have a child then. And like, how many other families do you know who have a 13-year-old gap in between their two children? It was a long time. And I had another thing, I'm an only child. It wasn't expected either. It wasn't expected. I thought I was going to have like 10, 8, 6, 4, and 2. I thought that's what was going to happen. I wanted it to happen. I wanted it to happen. Hashem has plans. And if this is his plan, I mean, it wasn't my fault I wasn't able to. I don't know. Maybe like we're just waiting for this neshama to come into the world. Anyway. Suffice it to say that I felt very heard when we went to the aisle, and I was very grateful. And then fast forward back, about a year later, after the mikvah was open for a year, my neighbor came to me and she had this dollar from the Rebbe, and I kept asking her, like, why are you giving it to me? Are you sure you want to give it to me? Like, is it okay for me to take it? I didn't believe that it was happening to me. And like I said, I mean, I don't know, whatever. Basically, I was stammering like I'm stammering now. I just didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I was beyond floored that this woman is handing me $1 from the Rebbe, like an actual dollar from the Rebbe. I didn't win any raffles. I like, what did I do to deserve this? I don't know. I'm just taking care of the mikvah. Like, it's not such a big deal to do laundry once a week for 2 robes. But anyway, I came into my house and I said to my husband, like our neighbor just gave me $1 from the Rebbe. Like I feel like he just gave it to me from his hand. And do you remember when we went to the aisle with Yo-Yo and we saw that video of the Rebbe where the Rebbe said he gave the $1 to the Rebbe, to the man with his wife for the mikvah? Like, I feel like the Rebbe gave it to me physically. Like, and my husband's like, okay, yeah, like just relax. You like, you know, you do your girly thing. You have all these emotions. It's very nice. Tell me what really happened. And I did, and I said, but don't you remember that video? Like, we went there, and the Rebbe's like giving the $1 to that man for the mikvah. And what date was it? And I looked up in my phone. I looked up and I saw it was the date of Cheshvan. And then I took a look at the dollar, and the person who got it wrote the tape that he got it from the Rebbe of Cheshvan. So then my husband believes me. Then he said it's not just the women's hergish, you know. Something special is going on here. So, like I said, I never really planned to live in Brooklyn, but Hashem put me here. Hashem is putting all of us in a place that he wants us to use our talents and use our unique, specific gifts and improve the world around us through those gifts and through our awareness that Hashem gave us those gifts and Hashem is with us wherever we go. And that's my story. That's my story, basically. Oh, sorry, I had one more quote. The quote of the purpose of sharing miracles is to arouse ourselves to see Hashem's miracles and Hashem's presence in our lives. So I bet you all that we all open our eyes and we see that a person crossing in front of us or the person not crossing in front of us, the wonderful station that we have here we see Hashem's presence with us wherever we go. And with that, we create the awareness of Hashem in this world. And that is the awareness that's going to bring Mashiach. So thanks for listening. Thanks.